Howdy, my name is Ananshi Sasuke. Welcome back to Prequel, or Making a Cat Cry the Adventure. I think the last time I did a video with this, we had just gotten past Kadia actually getting all her stuff back from the lady whose name I'm drawing a blank on. And so far, we're at October the 31st of 2019, so let's see if we can't get to October the 31st of 2020. Or past it, because for all I know, there weren't even any updates then. Snowbell wrote, ask your new friend Gaius to accompany you on your way back to Anvil. And Earth Golos wrote, you guys both need to look at this from a different angle. Someone is clearly forcing two to have these nightmares, forcing you both to have phobias of cultists and royalty. Alright, we spoke to the guy about the weird dreams. You need to ask why? Why make nightmares like these? Why cultists and royalty specifically? Who could possibly benefit from you specifically fearing these things? Are they even important? Is the fear itself what they need? Think outside the box. I have a thought. Since this is supposed to be the prequel to Elder Scrolls 4, maybe the reason that people are afraid of royalty is so that nobody helps the king when he gets whatever. Did he assassinated or he just get blown up? I don't remember what happened to him. All I know is he's like, I need your help, prisoner. So maybe it's just so that somebody sees the king and it's like, I don't want to help you, royalty banned. Anyway. Hey, this might be a weird question, but hold on. Boop. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Would you have any interest in traveling back to Anvil with me? What? Guys asked. Drop his duties to act as your personal bodyguard. There's a fighter's guild full of bored mercenaries who would happily take the role. No, I mean like, so we can figure out more about this nightmare thing. Out of all the people in Kashido Nern, some mysterious entity made you and me in particular have these nightmares. Nightmares about two very specific things, and both starting around the same year. There has to be some plan or motivation behind it, and if we could spend more time contemplating, comparing the similarities and differences between our experiences, we'd be that much closer to decoding it. I have a courier job to finish, but you're the best lead I've found on this, and it sounds like I'm the best lead you've found too, and, like, I want to know if you're into the idea of talking this out further while coming with me back to the coast. A little. Is that like a yes, or it's a little, guy says. Assuming everything you've said about your king nightmares is truthful, then you're right. Between the two of us, we might be able to narrow down their cause. At the same time, though, I'm not sure how much you can be trusted. Consider it from my perspective. After 14 years of unholy nightmares instilling a completely reasonable and justified apprehension of cultists, an ex-cultist suddenly shows up purporting to have similar nightmares and wanting me to come discuss it further. If I were royalty and I posed such an offer to you, would you trust me and accept it? Probably not, but I kind of expect others to be more rational than me with this stuff. Hence, a little. I might not fully believe you, but I do want to know more about your experiences with the nightmares. I'm not ready to take vacation days, so a serial cultist of allegedly benign motives can lure me into the woods, but if you're willing to spend some more time in Kavach, I'm not averse to your presence. Aw, you like me! Guys explains that there's a large gap between not being averse to someone's presence and liking them. You tell him the bar is really low and this counts as a win. He's your friend now, there's no escape. But no, like, I really need to get this courier job done. A friend is counting on me. I also want to meet up with the Legionnaire who took me here to show him I'm doing okay and have actual money and skills now. He believed in me and I kind of want to show him his investment paid off. His belief investment. It's complicated. It's a thing. Right, Gaia says. You'll be coming back to Gavach though, I hope. I mean, probably. It's not like the city's just gonna disappear. We're nightmare buddies now. We gotta figure shit out. Alvhem wrote, hug him as thanks for the information. Peanut wrote, give him a great big bear hug. Eel wrote, apprehensively grant upon your new guard associate a hug of associateship as a gesture of good faith and all that. Who the heck? Captain Gaius doesn't trust you enough to hug you, but he respects you more than to leave you hanging. Okay, some other dude. Cinderfallen wrote, you're a mage now? Maybe it's time to make use of those summons again and conjure your own bodyguard. Orphan 1 wrote, why does it matter? You travel with the Imperial Guard. You're richer than you've ever been before. Just hire someone from the Fighters Guild or something. While hiring and conjuring a bodyguard is definitely an option, they would 1. Cost probably a third of your money or all your magicka. 2. Pale next to the unparalleled protection of the Imperial Legion. And 3. Not be proud of you for completely turning your life around. The option is still on the table if some unexpected horrible disaster somehow causes you to miss Asatil, but your current plan is to not miss him. Elixir wrote, maybe you should show up 6 hours early. Wait until the normal time, and if he still hasn't arrived, wait 6 more hours. Error 57 no name wrote, arrive 6 hours early and set up cab. Channel your inner suburban dad as you prepare to wait for up to 12 hours just to be absolutely sure you don't miss your ride. Honestly, you have a bunch of books to read, so you don't have a problem with just waiting out in front of the town until you see him approach the base of the mountain. There's a nice rock out there just inside of the town guards, while simultaneously giving you a good view of the road below. Before you set up your little camp, you still need to get the new book for Quill and spend a couple updates doing one final comprehensive shopping trip around town. If Asatil shows up at 5 PM and his schedule was moved either forward or backwards by a maximum of 6 hours, that gives you a good... Oh, fuck. Vestibule wrote, go to the bookstore and buy the book for Quillweave. Wolfbob wrote, you're rolling in septums now. You should invest in some weapons and armor, maybe even a horse. It can't be that hard to ride, right? Pencils wrote, time to sample sweet rolls with your newly gained wealth and then buy potions, a magic staff, and all the lockpicks the vendors have on them. Psycho Tick wrote, don't forget about Bashira! You owe her a good smack on the head. Yeet! 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 That wasn't Bashira! 6 minutes. Nothing. Still, better safe than sorry. Is that a potion or is that milk? Suddenly, it's December now. Skooma Cat wrote, Asotile was probably running ahead of schedule, and you just missed him. You should go out looking for him. Not today, bad ideas. Up here, you have a nice elevated vantage point that lets you see for miles. Whereas down there, you'd be surrounded by hills and trees. Even if you didn't instantly get eaten by bears, or fall down the mountain, and break both your legs, which, let's be honest, would absolutely happen, you'd just be making it even harder to spot the person you're looking for. Plus, if he had shown up and left a couple of minutes early, you'd still be able to see him on the road from here, and just in case he showed up super early, hey, you call up the wall guard. Did you see an Imperial Legionnaire come by? Afraid not, the wall guard says. Okay, thanks, you say. There. The guard didn't see anything, and his whole job is to pay attention to his surroundings and make sure nothing potentially dangerous is happening near the city. And just in case the guard is slacking off and missing things, you double check with the Dagon cultist. He confirms that no legionnaires have come near the town. You thank him, offer him a sweet roll, and ask if he'll take one up to the wall guard too if he's headed in anyway. Black Mesa 12 wrote, drink the drink and eat the eat. Beans wrote, practice your newfound magic skills. Your brain is a muscle, so start doing some push-ups. It's an interesting way to say that. She had a milk mustache. Rain1234 wrote, now don't go wandering off. It may be a little late, but you don't want to miss your only bodyguard. Bane Kaikyo wrote, reassess inventory. Again, I mean, a lot changed really fast. Asatil being late wouldn't surprise you. Apparently, protocol mandates he stop and kill every potentially threatening animal he sees, which you witnessed a lot of on the way here. Plus, there's always a chance that his schedule shift was denied, or that it got shifted less than 6 hours, in which case he could show up at any time. Everything is going great right now, so you want to make sure you don't step away the exact moment he shows up. As for your inventory, your new acquisitions are a bottle of milk, a box of glazed sweet rolls, a new set of arena armor, the new grammar book for Quillweave, a leek, weird Cyrodiil onion, some magic restoring mushrooms you're pretty sure you sold the shopkeeper yesterday for way less than you paid today, and a bag of coffee beans. You aren't exactly sure how to turn coffee beans into coffee, but you figure you can work that out while waiting. You know roasting is involved at some point in the process, probably not the step that makes it hot at the end, since you're pretty sure it's not called roasting when done to liquid, it's just heating. Fluorescence wrote, rock, be slightly uncomfortable to sit on. Nope, everything you sit on is warm and comfy. What the heck is happening in that picture? Oh. Those couple of months you were shaved were the first and last time you experienced the horrifying world everyone else lives in. There is literally one advantage to having fur, and this is it. What was that about? I just did a little leg kick. I want her to be okay, but I know she's not because the story is called Making a Cat Cry. Okay, you're pretty much over sweet rolls now. You'd absolutely not need to get the box of 24. BookFan57 wrote, "You should use this time to study your new spellbooks! Nothing like several hours of sitting on a rock to practice shooting lightning from your hands and then subsequently healing the injuries you inadvertently cause." That sounds like a good reason to get a grip on healing magic before trying the lightning out. Though, on the other hand, learning magic the proper way is in... reading a book. Sorry I keep yawning, I've been sleeping like crap this week. Probably involves a lot less injury than your ordinary desperate experimentation style learning, so starting with healing may not matter. You're not sure how long you have, so you guess you have 3 choices of where to start. It could be pretty useful to get a basic grip on healing magic, but it's also a new type of magic you know absolutely nothing about and don't even have accidental experience with. Lightning, on the other hand, might come to you more naturally since you already have a tenuous grip on fire, but having another way to burn things wouldn't exactly mean as much. It's not like you and Azatil are going to get jumped by an evil bandit who can somehow only be hurt by magic that's not flames. Then there's also the option of reading more into conjuration. Even if you technically did use conjuration magic already, it was only one time. It was based off of a single diagram you saw in the book, and the Ideal Master said your ley line was too sloppy to have been usable without help, meaning there's a lot you might still have to learn just to do it again. Plus, unlike the other magic, you actually have someone you can turn to if you need a hand learning it, which you guess kind of makes thematic sense for conjuration, especially just calling for help even if it's technically breaching the barrier between universes and cavorting with angels and human entities. Or option 4, you could try to make coffee. Kadia, do that! And now it's, holy crap, we went from December to April of 2020. Maybe we will reach October of 2020, just a whole lot faster than I thought we would. Bearclaw wrote, "Time to start training your alchemy skills. Let's try to make some coffee." Coffee wrote, "Make me." Pidef wrote, "Make coffee this instant." Coffee wrote, "Make me, drink me, I will make you good at books." Ziki V wrote, "Coffee." Democracy wrote, "Healing, 490. Lightning, 267. Summoning, 332. Coffee, 685. I don't know what that's about. Maybe there was a vote? Okay, fine. Despite having 3 potential life-saving new magical skills you could spend this time learning, you overwhelmingly conclude that the best course of action is to attempt making coffee, despite having no knowledge of how to do so. With any luck, getting a little more wakefulness in you will keep you from making dumb decisions, such as this one you are making right now. Would she get energy if she just ate the coffee beans straight? I don't know how coffee works. Yeah. Plus, depending how long this takes, you might end up having time to read a book afterwards anyway. A giant cat can hope. Niv wrote, "Well, before trying to roast the coffee beans, maybe check the color of them first and see if they look roasted before you bought them. Otherwise, you just burn them more. Also, some people just like to eat them with chocolate if you don't feel like figuring out how to make it a beverage. You could just eat them with the sweet rolls and see if that goes better." They are brown. You guess that means they're already cooked? Munch. Yeah, it has that burnt wood texture. That's adorable. Hold on. I want to keep that. J-Rock wrote, coffee turns beans into juice. They are really seeds, so it's more like making tea. Woo! Cade wrote, "Smash the bag of beans against the rock, crushing up the beans inside, then put in some of the crushed up beans in the milk bottle and stir it up. And now you have milk coffee." Andy wrote, "Making coffee is at the most reductive level, not entirely dissimilar from making tea. You add flavor to heated water, utilizing plant matter. Surely it can't be that complicated." Coffee Cat wrote, "Get to percolating." Benkevin wrote, "Become a master barista, open a cafe." You guess you just let it steep now, like tea? Unless you made some horrible unforeseen mistake, that was actually surprisingly easy and disaster-free. As the tail wiggles. Also, I still didn't show up in the last 5 minutes, meaning you still have time to work on your spells. Kingsley wrote, "Consider which magic is most exciting, rather than just their drawbacks. I don't know what I was about to say. Enthusiasm to learn is important. You haven't really ever thought much about that. A week ago, you didn't even know someone like you could do magic. If it had turned out all you were capable of casting was some simple little light spell, you still would have been overjoyed about it, and probably gone around calling yourself the Light Wizard. But having every route suddenly open to you like this, and people asking what sort of things you're interested in and what you want to do, it just kind of makes you realize that you don't know. You never thought it through this deeply, since planning for something unattainable would just make you sad." Psykosh wrote, "Study the healing. Seems prudent, not to mention the fact that it's different than any magic you've done before, and right now you want to learn a bit of all the things, so you can begin to get some idea where or if you want to specialize anyway. You do have a vested interest in not dying horribly. You also seem to have an increasing propensity for getting horribly injured. Plus, since it's a new type of magic you've never tried, maybe it'll be the one that clicks something inside you and makes you go, wow, this is what I want to do forever. If nothing else, being a master of the healing arts at least sounds more dignified and sophisticated than being a fireball thrower." Hello! I'm Sleepy the Healing Snake, and you are about to learn restoration magic. You might be wondering, doesn't magic take dignity, intelligence, and other hoity-toity things? You'll be happy to know, restoration magic does not! All it takes is a little practice, a little persistence, and someone to read you this book. Make sure to look at the pictures while they read. 2 hours later. I kind of wanted to get a pet snake for my D&D character, and this just makes me want even more, and just have them be Sleepy the Healing Snake. I don't know if I'm gonna call them the Healing Snake, because if I give them magic, then my dungeon master's gonna want to kill it. And now it's June. Cerberus wrote, "You first learned mysticism via levitation using the ramblings of an insane ghost. You figured out conjuration using a brief glimpse of a spell in the same school and working out the rest on your own. You now literally have a book meant to teach anyone how to use this spell. You're incredibly intelligent. No, you're a genius of magic. You can learn this spell in an hour tops." Remember that comic panel I swallowed back on page 18? The one showing your finger before you bit the nail? Now it's time to bring it back. Keep imagining me wrapped around your hand, but picture that panel coming up my throat and... Patooey! Your nail is good as new! Now there's a small chance this may not have worked. That's okay, it's your first try. If the fingernail didn't heal, it's usually because the panel of the unbitten nail never got put in my stomach to begin with. Remember, the comic panel is just a metaphor or a pretend thing we use to talk about something complicated. If you picture your finger before and after you bit the nails being 2 panels in a comic, it'll help you understand that the panel with the unbitten nail hasn't changed. Just like the earlier pages of this book haven't changed, even though you've read past them. You can bite the nail in a different spot this time, or even move on to a different finger if you have to. If the nail didn't heal, go back to those pages and try again. Yee. This spellbook is the least helpful thing you have ever read. MK512 wrote, "Continue reading. Also, try to befriend the snake." Cozy Winter Hoodie wrote, "Whoever said restoration is for idiots is wrong. Despite how condescending this book is, you're doing the right thing by learning this. You'll thank yourself later. Do not give up." You haven't given up yet, but you're also not exactly making much headway. You understand the concept, as the book has repeatedly gone out of its way to emphasize words. Healing magic is very simple. You're supposed to hold onto a mental picture of how things were, and then regurgitate it onto how things are. The scant few pages on actual theory described it as moving little bits of time, which definitely sounds pretty neat on paper. The problem is that it's not leaving the paper. According to the book, pulling the memory into reality is the part of the spell that expends magicka, but storing the memory beforehand is the part that beginners mess up. If the healing spell does not work, it means your imaginary snake did not properly eat the comic panel or whatever, so you have to start over with something new to heal. This time, believing in yourself harder. Foops Lord wrote, "Eat the book!" That isn't what the metaphor meant. The author foresaw this confusion, though, and had an entire page explaining that you weren't supposed to literally eat the book. Caduceus wrote, "Regardless of how well Sleepy is written, take care to look up for your god friend every few pages so that you don't miss it." Wooster wrote, status update on the coffee. Well, your coffee turned out okay at least. You're kinda hoping it would turn the milk brown, but it still tastes like coffee. As for Aceto, you've been glancing down the road practically every page, which is frequently considering each page has maybe 5 sentences. So far, you haven't even seen so much as a courier. Imperials are notoriously regimented, though, so if Aceto said he'd request a 6-hour shift in his schedule, there's a good chance he'll show up exactly 6 hours from the original time. Not so good of a chance that you're willing to wait inside, though. 600 septims and a successful cup of coffee isn't enough to make you start trusting your luck again. Thus, the dragon wrote, Kadia, I just want to say, regardless of what happens, good or bad, I'm proud of you. Keep it up and don't let things get you down. You aren't worthless. Bad things just happen. Sometimes there's no way to deal with them, yet somehow you have. Through everything that has happened that would have ruined or completely ended anyone else, you succeeded. Good girl. Also, you can wear your cloak outside your robes. As a cloak girl, it'll make you look cooler. Good girl would usually feel a bit demeaning, but you think Sleepy has lowered your standards enough to appreciate it. Thanks. And you already tried wearing the cloak and robe together? It was a little cumbersome for your taste. Remember that you basically have a full body fur coat under everything you wear, and that it's the middle of summer? You are carrying these 3 complete outfits at this point, though, each with lots of interchangeable parts. If you wanted to make the invisibility cloak or even armor part of your normal wear, you could probably find some fancy and aesthetic way to combine the different pieces. It could be a nice little break from declawing yourself at the behest of a cartoon snake. Plus, you're pretty sure Azazel will suddenly show up right when you're changing. That seems like the sort of thing that would happen to you, and you're willing to capitalize on it if it means meeting up with him and getting back to Quillweaves. Kadia, try a few more things. Well, it's still June 2020. Far Gone wrote, use your claws to make a small cut in the palm of your hand, then visualize your uncut hand while using the spell. Keep trying, Kadia. Okay, for 1, you have no claws left on any of your hands or feet. For 2, you saw how practicing on your claws turned out, right? Given that you need some kind of new bodily damage every time the spell fails to take place, moving on to actual wounds seems like a slippery slope that'll end nowhere good. What the heck? Oh, you thank the very confused textile merchant for helping you frame the visual gag, and keep true to your promise to buy a scarf afterwards. When asked about Imperial Legionnaires, he reports seeing a few between here and elsewhere, but all headed the opposite way as him. He tells me it's very nice for a Khajiit. He's not sure how to take that and says he wants to go now. Darakinos wrote, you could try seeing if you could practice the healing spell on plants nearby. Form a mental image of them, then break and try to heal them. See if the book has further information on this. Seems odd that the recommended way to learn involves potentially ruining your fingernails. While the book is frustratingly light on details, the later pages do give a bit of justification for why it had you practicing on yourself. Apparently, healing other people is something that only comes once you've mastered the basics. It's not just a matter of storing someone's uninjured state and willing them back to it, it involves storing your own uninjured state and willing it onto them. In the words of the cheerful cartoon snake, you have to learn to catch before you can juggle. The book goes on to explain that restoration is a misnomer, and that a practiced master can move beyond simple healing. They can temporarily displace entire experiences into someone's history, giving them education or training they never received. The first step to this, though, is the basic self-healing spell. Learning how to bottle up a little piece of time and release it back where you got it. And that incredibly simple thing seems to be what you're stuck on. Book consumption enthusiast wrote, I still think you should try eating the book. I mean, what does the author know anyways? Learning magic is a very individual experience, so what may not have worked for them may work for you. So be brave and give that book a good old nibble. You're not going to eat the book. Benjamin wrote, the healing spell probably involves emotion like the other spells. Fireballs involved emotion. When you learned telekinesis, though, it was completely different. You were giving tiny little pushes to the magical properties of things to make them work a different way. And when you briefly used conjuration, it was different from both of them, with you navigating through extra-dimensional space by the stars. The fact that the Mages Guild had entirely different sections on the bookshelves for different magic types suggests that each one probably has its own theory and principles. There might be some overlap. You did manage to get a tiny bit of telekinesis from a bird pun, and started the conjuration spell with the normal blue line stuff, but you wouldn't count on the secret to restoration being something as simple as a different kind of wordplay. For all you know, it might not even be something you can approach like a puzzle. The snake did say intelligence wasn't a factor, and that if it didn't work, you had to believe in yourself harder. Let me drink some water real quick. And why is it, wrote, it may be that the image you're currently seeing is making it difficult to mentally retrieve the image you saw in the past. Try closing your eyes first, and then empty your mind of everything else. Kay wrote, use this as reference for restoring your claws. Superimpose it over your hand. Make it stay that way. After all, your body will feel better if it does. Focus! Focus! Oh, she turned on the vision. You thought for sure that one was gonna work. It was a solid idea and you did the dramatic dark vision flash and everything. Your nails wrote, you're out of magicka. That's why this isn't working. Nope, you can still make fire. Unless that was the last of your magicka just then. Nope, it wasn't. Unless that was. You've wasted 2 fire spells worth of magicka, confirming you have magicka and you still don't know. Also, as still hasn't shown up, you didn't forget, you're still checking. The final Wraith wrote, I don't want to get too touchy-feely with things, but could one of the problems you're experiencing with restoration be that you're having problems accurately perceiving things, in this case yourself, in the present and past how they actually were, and are instead projecting your impression of yourself as either better or worse than reality? You don't think that's the issue? Sure, you've had plenty of times where you comforted yourself with lies, but you feel like your overall self-perception isn't off base. It might seem like you're hard on yourself sometimes, but really you just have a lot of problems and you're extremely aware of them. And you're not blind to the good things about yourself either, like, you did a cool thing last night and saved the day. Plus you've been in studio for less than a week and have already become 100 air. A high-end 100 air too, over halfway to 1000 air. You're okay. And if your self-perception is screwed up in some weird way that you don't understand, well, that just makes you feel a little worse about yourself. Like, there's something broken inside of you that you can't see, and it's keeping you from learning the magic spell you want to learn. The thought is making you sad, which is pretty much the opposite of the snake's advice to believe in yourself. Maybe it's time to take that break to mess with your clothes. Video Gamer Age wrote, switch out the shawl hood free thing for your cloak of gray something or other, the invisibility one. Mines wrote, why don't you try replacing your wizard hood of awesomeness with your invisibility cloak? Well, for one, these greens don't get along at all. It's like someone was halfway through a painting and had to remix all their colors but ran out of yellow. You know, aesthetic should come second to practicality, but there's still a line you'd rather not cross. Even on a practicality level though, this is just throwing on even more layers on your body in the middle of summer. It's not adding any actual armor, and honestly, if you needed to turn invisible, you could get the invisibility cloak out of your inventory at almost about as fast as you could put up the hood. White Coat Syndrome wrote, but regarding clothes, keep in mind the impression that you're going to be giving. Remember, Sigrun robbed you in the first place because she thought you were rich just because you dressed nicely. Gekiro wrote, short shirt to keep cool, jeans for riding Astatil's horse, boots for walking. Overshirt for sneaking suit, pants and boots for marina armor, belt for mage's robes, should be light enough to be wearable over fur and cool enough for summer, and leaves the hood to use as a backpack. That, though, is actually surprisingly functional. It's good for walking, good for riding, good for summer, and doesn't scream, rob me, I'm a high-end 100 air. You'd have to alter the sleeves a little, but it's nothing you can't handle with a silver dagger and a dangerous amount of believing in yourself. Gaydar wrote, you know what that means? Change very slowly. Not enough to get spotted by passerby, but slow enough that it isn't your standard time. Gorbash wrote, change provocatively to ensure he shows up. You're going to do it. You're going to change super slow and seductively to jinx Astatil into appearing. The guard is on a different part of the wall right now, and the merchant is inside. Plus, changing clothes is a very functional and purposeful thing, so it won't be too weird if someone sees you, though hopefully still awkward enough to make Astatil show up. You stand on the away from the city side of the rock just to be safe. The slow kind of seduction has never exactly been what you were known for, but you figure it's basically just changing clothes but slower? Here we go. Did she actually change anything, or is it just appearing because she's too fast? How is this something you were bad at? Okay, so it does look like she just poof, 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 poof. But the outfit looks great. I'm glad that the Elder Scrolls world gets to have genes, because I don't know if D&D gets genes. Rex wrote, now it's August of 2020. Wait! Quickly look around. Maybe he didn't want to be rude and let you take your time changing? Not important, wrote, did it work? It did not work. The road to the coast remains as Legionnaire free as ever. This wrote, you look nice! And you accomplished every criteria you set for your outfit. Anyway, are you sure the blue line magic visualization is part of healing magic? Perhaps it's holding you back, sticking to something that might be leading in the wrong direction? You're glad you look good. You feel like you managed to hit the fine line between looking nice and looking like you're not carrying money? Given your experiences these last few days, you figure that's probably the right place to be. As for the blue line magic, you absolutely aren't sure if it's the right thing to do here. It's just kind of how you've been imagining magic. Neither the book you read nor anyone else you've spoken to have said anything about blue lines. Plus, magic looked all angular and purple when the Ideal Master took over your vision. It might just be a subjective thing nobody sees the same way, in which case, you feel like it shouldn't matter how you visualize healing. In the interest of experimentation, though, you imagine a more realistic cartoon snake vomiting comet panels on your hand. It doesn't heal your claws, but it does succeed in making the experience much, much more uncomfortable. Xaneth wrote, perhaps the problem is that you are having trouble properly envisioning your unbit nail because the book is making you think of human nails. Try drawing your own hand with the nail for a visual aid and see if that helps. This is a borrowed book from the Mages Guild Library, a guild you now officially belong to. Leaving intelligent and helpful notes in the margin will be one thing, but you're not going to needlessly scribble all over a book you're probably supposed to return. As the cartoon imaginary snake just... Do it again. There you go. Lamb Sauce, at least I think that's Lamb Sauce, wrote, maybe if you commit a crime you'll get his attention? Bad One wrote, maybe you break the law, Asatil will appear and smite you for the heinous crime of, vagrancy? Petty theft of a sausage? Of someone's nose? You meticulously vandalize every human depicted in the book. This does nothing to forward your quest or improve your magical abilities. Not only that, but you have ensured the next owner of the book will know Khajiit was struggling with it and thought this might help. Zarhan wrote, try putting yourself in jinx-inducing embarrassing position some other way, e.g. by attempting to eat the book. Utter Madness wrote, eat the book is thinking like a witch hunter! Do it! Young Dingaling? Wrote, I think we should seriously consider eating the book. I mean, they make a valid point. Everyone learns differently. I remember hearing about this one guy from Morrowind who could just write it down in a notepad and use it at a whim. Maybe you're a naturally born book jumper. Brom wrote, at least lick the book. Reverse Psychology wrote, yeah, you're right. You really shouldn't eat the book. You probably couldn't handle its delicious papery secrets anyway. Well, that would solve the book's next owner judging you problem, but you're not going to eat the book. A local nerd wrote, it's been 2 hours, right? Acido should have arrived by now. Wild Breeze wrote, Kadia, I'm begging you, please move your coffee milk off the books. It stresses me out. It's been a little longer than that. Closer to 3. Is the cartoon snake just going to be a thing now? Acido said he'd request a 6-hour shift in his schedule. It's most likely he'll show up either 3 hours from now if the schedule shift didn't get approved and he arrives at the normal time, or 9 hours from now if it was shifted 6 hours forward, not back. It's also possible he's running ahead of or behind schedule, in which case he could show up at any time. Even if he doesn't show up until nighttime, though, you at least have lots of time to read books and practice things, probably behind time skips. Like that one right there. You got tired of sitting, so you ran into town to use the bathroom, ran back to the rock to make sure Asto wasn't visible on the road, either coming or going, then back into town again where you bought a toy crossbow that shoots toothpicks. You've almost gotten good at using it. Back to magic now. Yeah, the cartoon snake is still just chilling. Carne Warrior wrote, so, destruction magic is based on emotion. Fire seems like anger, so maybe lightning is jealousy or something. Doesn't really matter. Conjuration is based on pathfinding, wildly different skill, not even in the same things group as emotions. And mysticism is logical. Again, it's a wildly different skill, not even in the same group as the others. Perhaps the issue is that you're trying to think of it as the wrong skill. Maybe the snake wasn't being metaphorical at all when he said believe in yourself. And the issue is that you're trying to project when what you need to be doing is just believing your hand back to health. Instead of focusing on the emotion of it or trying to click a projection into place like a pig stuck in a keyhole, you need to turn off all your internal senses and just believe in yourself. Specifically, the yourself that existed a couple of moments ago. It's not that you're projecting it through time, it's that you're the same person as that person. Don't let logic and rationality get in the way of the truth. Right. And close your eyes and try to forget about all the swirly blue lines and complexities of magic. You focus on the you in the past, the you that had claws, the you that was stored in your mind while preparing to cast the healing spell. You are that you. She's you. You are one and the same, and the separation of time does not change that. You were not trying to heal, you are healed. Yeah, it didn't work. You're still clawless, and that guard on the wall probably thinks you're doing some kind of very low-energy yoga routine? Pseudo-Fredo. I noticed that when you had listed good things about yourself, you listed objects you have and things you did. But when you feel bad about yourself, you tend to think in terms of personal qualities. The magic may require you to have self-esteem, which is actually self-esteem? Is there anything you like about you that isn't a possession or accomplishment? Hard mode. And is also not a skill. That just sounds like a very roundabout way of asking, do you like being a talking animal that panics about everything? And no, you take more pride in the fact that you worked stuff out okay despite being a talking animal that panics about everything. Is a bard wrote, here's the thing about believing in yourself. It can't be forced. Faith doesn't work that way. If you can already do it, then great. You can remind yourself how great / ostensibly competent you are and foster belief that way. But if you don't, trying to believe in yourself harder just makes it feel like you can't even more. And let's be honest, a person whose first thought upon undertaking a relatively simple task is please dear Akatosh, don't let me screw this one up, is not someone with a strong belief in themselves. Believing in yourself takes time, patience, courage, and forgiveness. It doesn't happen overnight or because a book tells you to. It happens because you learn to forgive yourself for your failures and accept what they are without letting them become who you are. It happens because you keep trying, and because bit by bit you gain little victories which remind you that you can accomplish things, even if it is hard, or you had help along the way. If that's true, you guess you're supposed to just wait until you believe in yourself more? Waiting until you get better feels a little antithetical to the entire idea of healing magic, but maybe there's some part of you that's just not ready for healing yet. After you spend some time being a competent and successful mage without huge problems all the time, maybe something you can't see right now will just click and you'll be able to use healing magic too. Or maybe you're overthinking this and are getting too dramatic for a magic type that can apparently be taught to illiterate people by a cartoon snake. Well, whatever. If you're giving up and going back to what you're good at least what you're good at is more respectable than it used to be. And these last few hours weren't a complete loss. You learned the limits of your abilities. Those limits are higher than you thought they were a week ago, but you guess they're still there. Pseudo K wrote, why not move on and try to polish a conjuration a bit? Maybe reprocess your account with the soul cairn without selling your soul. Make it more usable. Firm Cast 351 wrote, maybe while you have time to kill, you can actually look into filling out the user preferences on the Karen Corp account that you'd hastily put together. It wouldn't hurt to learn a bit more about that as an option for the future, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to see if you could at the very least submit your proper name as opposed to slutty meat sack. Healing can go on the shelf for a while. You reach out along the now familiar path to the soul cairn, and your melancholy is mitigated by the usual blast of sudden happiness. The skeleton on the other end is pleased that you chose to contact Karen Corp and wonders how they can be of aid. Okay, it's time to inquire. And now we're in September of 2020. We're almost there. We're almost at October. Unless we pass it completely. Hopeful Scion wrote, getting a blast of joy every time you call the soul cairn seems like something you could both use and abuse. Don't worry, you're sure this will have no negative consequences that you'll be able to stop whenever you want. Pit Viper wrote, politeness is key. Begin by saying hello, stating who you are, and thanking the other end for the invaluable help from earlier. That should be a good opener. Nermish wrote, happily inquire as to how your skeleton's friend stick ball court net game is going. Getting straight down to business, you briefly think about yourself, an amateur mage seeking to learn more about conjuration, and your appreciation towards the soul cairn for getting you out of that sticky situation last night. Telepathic introductions are weird. The skeleton is happy to hear that you found Karen Corp's conjuration services satisfactory, and hopes this is a sign that you will continue summoning with them in the future. It considers the possibility that, if you enjoyed your experience, you'll perhaps see fit to recommend Karen Corp to your friends? You make a mental note to mention it to all three of them at some point. How's that ball and that game going? The skeleton observes that today's game in the Temple of Activity is progressing with the usual amount of harmonious perfection. The glorious makers have decided that it will win this game and the next by a narrow margin before moving on to the regional championships where it will lose 1-6-1-6. Sounds like the skeleton has its day all planned out. You can call back later if this is a bad time. It banishes that thought, stressing that it would enjoy nothing more than to serve you right now to the best of its capabilities. It requests a moment to pull up your files. Sure, you think. No hurry, mostly you just have some general questions. Amanodel wrote, explain that your initial account setup was bare bones, and it's about time to be a proper customer of this fine summons distribution company. You have hyoid confidence in this new joint venture. Pray that Slutty Meatsack isn't your permanent name. First of all, about those files. You hope to the skeleton that you might be able to tweak out a few of the details that were entered last time. Your initial registration was expedited a bit due to the situation you were in, but now that things have cleared up, you'd like to correct some minor inaccuracies. The skeleton notes with a tinge of disappointment that a number of the basic account setup questions, such as the registrant's name and birthday, are set at the time of registration and cannot be adjusted. This is part of the reason new users are encouraged to prepare their account well in advance and double-check answers thoroughly for spelling mistakes. It wasn't really a spelling mistake so much as the ideal master. All rights reserved, the skeleton adds. Throwing in a bunch of answers to get the account made more quickly. You were a little too busy to care much at the time, but now that you're no longer in mortal peril and summoning might become a regular thing for you, you'd kind of like to change your name away from Slutty Meatsack? The skeleton re-emphasizes that your registration name cannot be changed at a later date, as your information has already been added to the holy system in the appropriate alphabetical location. Additionally, if the exalted maker chose your name, it is most certainly an excellent name, and the skeleton cannot comprehend why a change will be desired or necessary. And why is it wrote first things first? Change your account's language to something other than Dragonling screams. Would it be possible to at least change the language to something other than Dragonish? Language preferences are indeed fully adjustable. In the interest of providing better service for you and the other customers going forward, would you be willing to provide the reason for the change? Your Dragonish is a bit limited, you think, your response. Also, you're pretty sure Dragonlings don't have a written language. That reams of paper the skeleton is holding just has screaming written repeatedly on every page. The skeleton can see where this might be a potential inconvenience. A prayer has been sent to the makers, and your language preferences should be updated in 3 to 10 business days. Not Kelvin wrote, make that snake throw up thumbs! Greenland wrote, please make sure the snake is warm. I know this is about you, but they tried their best! The snake is imaginary. It can neither feel hot nor cold. There's no reason to worry about its well-being. You can give it sassy little arms and make it give a thumbs up, though. Hopefully that's enough to pretend it's happy and comfortable. That's adorable. Mr. Cartier wrote, before you commit any of these services they offer, ask if there is some sort of fee attached on them. Jesse wrote, Connie, inquire about the wide range of available deals on summoning circles. Anyway, so next point of business. I'm still pretty new to this whole dealing with otherworldly entities thing. I'm wondering, what exactly is the model here? Do I give you something in exchange for you sending skeleton people to me? For legal reasons, the skeleton clarifies that Karen Corp does not send skeleton people. You pull Bonekin from the Soul Cairn using basic conjuration technique as you would from any Daedric plane, while Karen Corp ensures your conjured aid is fully repaired and readily available whenever you need it, as well as providing customer service and mana-back guarantees, in the rare case that problem should arise. As an ordinary conjurer, you won't be buying from Karen Corp directly. Rather, new conjuration codes will be purchased through one of our licensed resellers. Upon using a code, it is securely and non-transferably bound to your account and will remain uniquely yours until you have been fully dead for at least 2 years, whereupon your account is automatically closed. Your free conjurer account entitles you to summon 1 Soul Cairn Denizen at a time, although this number increases if you choose to upgrade to a Platinum account. Okay, you think that seems almost suspiciously non-evil. There's no secret trick here to take over my mind or steal my soul? Karen Corp prides itself on an inviting environment and friendly customer service. We would never steal your soul. Although we offer competitive rewards should you sign it over voluntarily, if a customer is on the fence about this decision, we encourage them to seriously consider whether they had any better plans or prospects for their soul. Alright, so I'm going to change the topic before I start thinking about that too hard. Unclever Title wrote, come to think of it, as long as we have access to wisdom from across the cosmos here, is there anything someone within Karen Corp that might be able to tell you about dream thieves? maybe someone higher up there is looking to branch beyond mere conjuration services and wanted to experiment in the realm of nightmares. It could be some kind of Inception-based advertising campaign, make people feel vulnerable so that they want to summon some Ashius defenders? Of course, if that were true, you'd expect to see some branding by the end of the dream, but what if you've been waking up in a cold sweat just before the logo reveal every time? Third question, it's a long shot, but just to check, do you guys ever tamper with dreams? Karen Corp is a high-quality provider of conjuration services. Altering dream states falls outside the purview of their business. I mean, not as a business thing, but maybe as advertising? Have you ever given people scary dreams to make them see your company name or feel like they need skeletal defenders, anything like that? The skeleton recalls that a nightmare-based marketing campaign was proposed at a meeting several centuries ago. As Scarecorp's planner location is optimized for ease of summoning, not dream intervention, the suggested campaign would have been operated in collaboration with the Daedric Prince Vermina. However, the Adalagas foretold that such a campaign would draw interest to Vermina's plane of Quagmire more than to the Soul Cairn, and it was ultimately concluded that the gains of the campaign would not outweigh its price. So you didn't do it, but you did think about it, as in, it's something a summoning plane might consider. Also, you implied you have a way to contact Vermina? Although Karen Corp highly discourages its customers from fraternizing with hazardous Daedric entities, most planes ruled by a Daedric Prince have a public number for business inquiries. The skeleton will be happy to forward your call to Quagmire if you have questions about purchasing nightmares. You might take the skeleton up on that offer later, you think your response. You're still new to this conjuration stuff and don't really know how to reach places. Guido wrote, ask the skeleton if they have any advice for healing magic. Mushy wrote, ask if he knows if eating the book will help you learn. Cold Mute wrote, ask if they can provide anyone who can instruct you on healing magic, or magic in general. Being able to summon a teacher whenever you've got downtime would be definitely be beneficial. But, before that, fourth question. I'm sorry if this is outside your plane's specialty, but do you know anything about restoration magic? The skeleton wishes it knew less about the bad magic. Way, we reached October. Cool. Also, I guess this is, if I want to leave a cliffhanger with the skeleton calling restoration the bad magic, that's a good stopping point. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. I have no idea what number this episode is, but in the next episode we're going to proceed with October 2020, and wait a minute. It looks like I'm about to run out of updates. So, all the more reason to stop here. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. I have no idea if you can click the bell without subscribing, but it's there. So, y'all all have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Later.